So, you're saying the pentagram works? Alright, you're the doctor. If a game has combat, it's probably going to have some healing system. Pills, beams, regeneration, food, spells, hot springs, hotels, blood rain. There's 1,000 ways to flavor healing, but there's another question you're going to need to grapple with. If the player can heal, what's the catch? There's not a lot of drama in it if you just get right back to where you started. If you can wipe away the consequences of combat so easily, is combat so much of a risk? If your reward is a new lease on life, what are you willing to give up? Let's talk about how to spice up a healing system. Maybe you're not fit for medicine. Maybe computers instead. Learn to code with today's sponsor, boot.dev. According to Stack Overflow, the median salary for backend developers in the US last year was over $100,000. Boot.dev has taken the tactics from modern game design and applied it to coding with an eye towards starting a career in backend development. The platform is designed to get you writing a lot of code right away to help you avoid tutorial hell, and they've embedded the lessons into a full-on RPG. All that stuff keeps you locked into the learning process. It's self-paced, and by the end of it, you'll be able to code in the Python and Go programming languages like a pro, perfect for tackling your personal game design projects. If you get stuck, Boot.dev subscribers also get access to an active Discord community full of people learning alongside you, and can help you tackle technical interviews and build a successful programming career. If you've ever been curious about learning how to program, this is your chance. Take it. Click the link in the description box and use my code DESIGNDOC to get 25% off your first payment for Boot.dev. That's 25% off your first month or year, whichever you choose. Thanks to Boot.dev. So, what's the problem with healing anyway? Healing's great. It might be necessary in some form, but if your plan is just add some health to a health bar and call it a day, that's a little dull, isn't it? There's a lot more room for creativity. You can use healing systems to build interesting choices for a player to make or not make. Dilemmas they have to puzzle through, sometimes at a split second's pace. Designing a spicy healing system takes something that most games have and keeps it from getting tactically boring. The Kingdom Hearts devs found that out the hard way. The first Kingdom Hearts has a weird healing difficulty curve over the course of the game. The first quarter of it, you're weak. Your defensive options are limited, and all you can do to heal is vacuum up tiny health orb drops and use up your limited item inventory. Once you finally unlock Cure though, the game turns into a different game. Cure is easy to use and quick to activate. The spell upgrades too. As you get more MP and you get the higher level Cura and Curaga spells, the game gets exponentially easier. You can save yourself at a moment's notice for a small fraction of your MP bar. Cure spamming is a viable way to get through most fights, even to the point of forgoing other magic options to save all that mana for healing. It simplifies the game a bit, maybe too much. To address how overpowered it could be, Square overhauled both the MP bar and the Cure spell for the sequel. Instead of segments, spellcasting now makes you spend mana points just like a lot of other games. Don't spend it all though. Dropping down to 0 MP puts you in an MP charge state, where you have to wait through a cooldown before getting your spells back. Cure is still around, and you can use it whenever you want, but it'll cost you. How much? Well, how much you got. Curing costs the entire remaining bar, so you're guaranteed to be locked out of magic for a time if you use it. You really have to commit if you're going to heal yourself. It can't be spammed anymore. This change also made offensive magic more appealing. You don't have to save up for a cure if you can spend the bar down to 1 MP and cure anyway. If you're going to be locked out after the cure either way, why not, right? Cure in Kingdom Hearts 2 became less of a crutch and a get out of jail free card, and instead helped give players the go ahead to explore more of their combat options beyond cave banning and healing. You can think of healing like an undo button, meant to correct any major mistakes in combat. If that undo is free, if it lacks checks and balances, that can drain all the tension out of fighting. Why learn how to fix a bad habit if you can heal away the problem? You might be able to ignore major elements of combat system entirely if basic attacks and generous healing lets you get through it anyway. Cheap healing can dramatically reduce a game's challenge if it's the optimal strategy. Players love to optimize, even if they optimize out the fun in the process. The two new open-world Zelda games have surprisingly intricate combat systems. If you're not allergic to weapons breaking, many players find the early parts of the games to be the most satisfying. You're barely getting by in fights with low health, limited resources, and a heavy dose of improvising. Combat is scrappy, for a while at least. As you get more health and more options, that fades away, thanks in no small part to the game's cooking system. As you grab ingredients, you can easily make full restore meals by just slamming a few things together. As long as you have access to a cooking pot, you can store dozens of these things, and even throw in a few combat and defensive bonuses on top for flavor. When you're in a fight, no matter what's happening, you can pause the game, eat something, and be right back to full strength. As long as you're not getting one-shotted, you'll be fine. There's not even a limit to how many meals you can eat at once. You can even eat ingredients by themselves. Eat 40 apples if you want, that'll do the trick. Even if you get one-shotted, the game provides fairies to bring you back from the dead. You're an unstoppable healing machine. Luckily, the games are fun for other reasons, but this healing system is way more forgiving than other Zeldas. The limited inventory slots and bottles in the earlier games made you think more carefully about getting into fights stacked against you. It's fine to have a very generous heal system, but just recognize that it's going to dramatically alter how combat feels. Great, now you're convinced that a spicy healing system can be important. I'm glad I've convinced you so easily. Kudos to me. So let's say you've got a healing system already that you want to spice up a little. What can you mix into it? Health doesn't have to be just about how far your lil guy is from dying. The health you have can also impact whatever other stats you've got. Advance Wars has always had a special relationship with unit health. The combat power of your units is proportional to their HP. The weaker one of these tanks is, the weaker its punch. The less health this infantry has, the more turns it'll take to capture a building. Units with 1 HP are good at taking pot shots and taking up space. Better to try to heal up if you can. So, how do you heal your dudes? Everyone has access to two main ways. You can either have them wait on top of friendly properties and gain 2 HP per turn, or you can merge two of the same unit and their health numbers will be added together right away, up to a max of 10. Since heavily damaged units can't contribute much to the fight, this can be the fastest way to get one back to fighting shape. It's a trade-off though. You aren't really healing a unit as much as you are consolidating them. None of them can heal above 10 HP, and you can't split the merged unit back up. You're essentially sacrificing one of them for immediate health, and that means sacrificing anything that one extra guy could do for your plans. Even an APC with 1 health can take up a square. When you merge a unit, it can't even move again until next turn. Healing is quick, but it's not quite an instant turnaround. If that unit was getting hammered last turn and can't move, you might be right back to where you started in a hurry, and with 1 less unit. If you merge things to heal, you might have a harder time boxing your opponent out from capturing a city, or keeping them out from running around your front line to attack your flanks. The number of units you can bring to the party can be as big of a factor in winning a fight in Advance Wars as how much health each one has. They might be cannon fodder, but they're your cannon fodder, damn it. There's no quick fix for healing in Advance Wars. You get your health back, but at what cost? Time or manpower? Or even more than that, Othercide is a roguelike tactical RPG. A little bit XCOM, a dash of Child of Light, and some dramatic color choices. You can heal units, called daughters in Othercide, by sacrificing higher level characters into lower ones. The surviving daughter gets her health restored, plus some cool traits. Better traits come from higher leveled sacrifices. Othercide is built to get you to build up characters and fold them into the next generation, all while under the risk of permadeath XCOM style. The game's healing and progression mechanics make getting too attached to any one character a possible way to sandbag your entire run. To build up, you must first tear down, or something like that. Healing can also be risky by how it excludes you from taking other actions. This shows up all the time in games with animation lock. Hollow Knight has a spell called Focus, which lets you spend some of your soul meter to repair 1 unit of health at a time. However, it's not just the soul cost that you have to worry about. You've got to commit to it. You have to hold down the spell button until the cast can finish. Be careful though, you have to be very selective about when to start the process. If you get hit while casting, You take damage, you don't get the extra health, and you waste the soul meter that you are spending. Picking the wrong moment can put you in an even worse position than you were in already. It's not a complicated animation lock, but the system doesn't have to be complicated to still make you think hard about when to heal. Fromsoft uses animation lock in a similar way. The specifics change game to game, but many of them use a recharging consumable item as your main healing option, like the Estus flask in Dark Souls. Generally, you can only use the flask so many times before you have to recharge it. You can upgrade that number, both in charges and how strong each one can heal you, but you're not going to be so full up on Estus that you get to stop thinking about how to deploy it effectively. The healing itself can be gradual in some games instead of instant, and the punishment that your opponents can dish out is far more devastating. It creates a moment of hesitation, even when you know the right move is to heal. Do you have the chance to do it right now? Or do you have to wait a second? Or move to a safer spot? The signature feel of Souls difficulty is partially built from making no moment truly safe, not even when you're recovering health. Get even more extreme with it and you might find yourself inside Monster Hunter. No game series emphasizes animation lock more. Every action you take is tempered by finding the right opportunities, and almost everything you do requires you to make at least some level of commitment. Healing is no exception. Using potions in the older games locked you in place as you chugged it. They even did a little celebration flex animation before letting you move again. Like the other games we brought up, healing at the wrong time can put you in an even worse position than before. The level of commitment forces you to actually study the attack patterns of the monsters you fight and to search for those golden opportunities. They're in there, but you do have to find them. It's part of what made the series generally unforgiving for new players, and at the same time contributed to the depth of each encounter. The more modern games like World and Rise let up a little, and you could drink a potion while moving. You can even roll out of the healing animation before it finished if you really needed to. They also added more area of effect heals, which can be more convenient in some cases. Still, even with the changes, you had to pick your spots. Your AoE heals aren't always available, so break out the potions. In return for the potions being more convenient, you do lose the item if you get hit or have to roll out of the animation. The tweaks make the system maybe not as punishing, but that doesn't mean it isn't risky. You can absolutely go too far with animation lock healing though. Ever had to lock your physical body into an animation? Metroid Other M has a concentration mechanic. Unlike any other game in the series, enemies don't drop health or ammo when defeated. You can only get patched up at save stations. They're all over the place, but it's still a little odd. Aside from that, all you have at your disposal to heal is concentration. Normally it's used for reloading missiles, but it can give you back a bit of health if you're in critical condition. Find a spot, and Statue of Liberty your Wii remote. Better hope the motion controls play nice, and that there's no monsters around. Animation lock healing is meant to be annoying in some degree, but making you do it physically is a step too far. It's right in that maximum awkward era of motion controls, which has mostly been abandoned. Nothing will ever be as 2010 as bad motion controls. You don't have to get too cute with these healing mechanics. Healing feels kinda defensive, you know? You could change up that healing feeling by tying it to offense instead. Let's call it ironic healing. Healing systems can be an efficient way to push players into a playstyle. The way you reward resources like health is naturally going to make some styles of play more successful than others, and players will generally drift towards those. In a lot of older shooters, falling to low health encourages players to hang back and become cautious, defensive, and slow down. Hanging behind cover, taking pot shots, maybe waiting for a regenerative shield to pop back up. In many games, that was all you could do to survive, and it cut against the fun of most action games. I love Modern Doom. Its whole deal is geared towards making you become the Doom Slayer, the single best possible person you could come up with to kill all of these demons you've got running around. Everything about the game's aesthetic, tone, and gameplay encourages adrenaline-pumping aggression and violence, including the way you regain health. The glory kill system is built to give out more stuff if you weaken an enemy into a stun state, rush in, and take them out up close. You get way more health and ammo than you'd get by just hanging back. It seems a little risky to do, but that's the point of the extra rewards. It's active encouragement for you to get all up in there, swapping to the right weapon for the job, and getting as many glory kills as possible to keep yourself alive in the process. It's exhilarating, and defines the feel of the two modern Doom games. Now, you don't have to play like this to beat the game. Enemies will still drop some health and other items if you hang back, but there aren't any guarantees unless you rush in where angels fear to tread. With one tweak, Doom's glory kills flip player behavior on its head, and let the game become the kind of aggressive shooter it was always meant to be. If you want the same system but even less abstract, try Ultrakill. All the blood flying out of the demons you shoot is your health regen, and you can absorb it in the air, which is easy thanks to the game's focus on fast movement. Just grab it before it hits the ground. Wouldn't want any of that floor blood. Gross. If you want to tie healing to aggressive actions, you aren't limited to shooters and action games either. F-Zero is one of the few racing games where health is a constant factor. In most of the series, your machine's health is also tied to the boost mechanic. You can speed yourself up whenever you want, but it'll drain your health bar in the process. You can recharge at the track's healing pads, but there are only so many of those scattered over a track. You have to juggle your resources, choosing whether to boost a ton and increase the risk of blowing up, or play it safe and probably lose. Some of these games add in a little more reward to your risk by giving you a bit of energy for eliminating other machines to encourage aggressive play. F-Zero 99 takes it even a step further. KOs in F-Zero 99 are important. You get rewards that carry over between sets of races for all the people you retired. But there are two types of KOs. One is for these gray CPU drivers, which give you a bit of health for getting the last hit. But if you want a full charge, you can take out a real person driver. Both of these make the meter itself extend, giving you more boost to play with for the rest of the race or the Grand Prix. Player KOs are less common, since you need to have another person make a pretty big mistake at just the wrong time for you to have a chance to get it. But if you see a smoking car on the track, you better believe everyone's going to rush in to try to claim the kill. If you're low yourself, you might just get blown up in the fight to blow up the other machine. If you time it right though, man, nothing feels better. Boost your way to the front, you've earned it. F-Zero 99's KO system turns a limited healing mechanic into something that causes bloodlust, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Healing in a risky healing system almost always has to come at the cost of forgoing something else. It's about the opportunity cost. This pattern shows up in many of the games we've mentioned already, but some games are more blatant about it. Healing in fighting games is somewhat rare, but it does happen. Your life bar is the most important resource you have, and some games let you recover a bit of it through red health. It's more common in tag team formats like Marvel vs. Capcom, Dragon Ball FighterZ, and Skullgirls. The specifics vary game to game, but it generally looks something like this. As your characters take damage, part of that damage shows up as a red section of the health bar. You've lost that health, but you do have an outside chance of getting it back. If you tag out your active character, they can regenerate that health while they're on the bench. As long as you're fine without that character for a while, you can recoup some of that damage. At any time you can tag them back in, but any remaining red health will be forfeited. The question becomes, how badly do you need that character right now? Could you hold out a little bit longer and give them more of a chance to recover? Or do you need them to make a power play? It's just one element, but adds depth to a match and can punish a player that miscalculates one way or the other. It's yet another split-second decision that has to be made and remade in a game type that thrives off of navigating those decisions. In roguelikes, the time or money you spend to heal can seem cheap, but it winds up being very expensive over the long haul. Repairing things in FTL always comes with an opportunity cost. If you need to patch up your ship, the cost could be as simple as credits. You can't spend them on other things, but that's just how money works. The bigger dilemmas show up when you have a choice between repairing your ship or gaining something else. You can encounter someone who can help you repair, or give you a cool weapon. Repair, or upgrade your systems. Some bad encounter where you lose half your health might bite you again when you can't pick up both the secret upgrade and keep your hull from splitting apart. Your crew might need repairs too. Each of your crew has their own health bar. Boarding a ship and fighting their crew, getting hit by a missile, walking into a fire, and the harsh vacuum of space can all do some damage, and can get harrowing if you're in the middle of a tense fight. To heal up your crew, they need to physically walk over to your medbay and stand there for a bit. There's a weird healing gun too, But that's not cheap either, or all that convenient really. While they're getting back to fighting shape, they aren't doing their normal job. Maybe the shields won't work quite as well, or the weapons take longer to load without a crew member manning the station. In a tense fight, that can easily contribute to a bad encounter spiraling into a deadly one. Even worse if one of your crew dies and you lose all of their hard-won skill bonuses. You can't just replace a crew member at a moment's notice. There are only so many ways you can get another to join you, and they won't show up in the middle of a firefight. Damage in FTL is painful, and the game steers players towards choosing their encounters very carefully, lest they be sliced open in empty space. Dave the Diver has a slightly inverted take on risky healing. Chill out in this ocean dreamscape, where all you have to do is keep an eye on your oxygen meter. Don't want to run out of that? Okay, great. And the health bar? Where's the health bar? Ow. Oh, the air is the health bar. Okay. You've got a lot of time and a lot of O2 canisters you can use to top up, so you shouldn't feel too much pressure down here before you've maxed out what you can carry back to the surface. But if you're going shark hunting, you're gonna have to plan this out a little more. You can suck down a can of air to heal right away, but you barely have any slots to carry around to spare, and it takes quite a while to go pick one up, especially if you've pulled aggro on one of these guys. You have to prepare before you go, but you can't course correct much once you commit to the fight. How big of a fight do you think you can survive with what you've got on hand? If you get the mix wrong and run out of air down here, it isn't a huge deal. You'll just lose all but one of the items you picked up on this dive. But there's a lot of cool stuff down here. It'd be a shame to leave it behind. In Dave the Diver, the healing itself isn't risky, but that healing comes at the expense of plenty of other things you could be doing on this dive. Healing doesn't always have to be risky to the healee, it could be risky to the healer instead. The medic in Team Fortress 2 shoots a beam out to quickly heal whoever they can get kind of close to. The beam can overheal too, giving a big chunk of extra life over the max. Medics tend to jump around person to person to top everyone up, if they're any good. When an attack starts though, they sometimes shift to becoming a pocket medic, tethering themselves to someone attacking the front lines and hanging by their side as they go. For the defenders, it sure would be nice to take out the medic first so they can't undo the damage you do. Where is that medic Oh. It's much harder to blend into the background if you're doing the healing, which makes it a touch riskier to be on the front lines. Anyone paying attention knows exactly where all the team's healing is coming from. The medic might be the juicier target, and the constant visual indicator of active healing can remind the opposition to take out the medic first. The game didn't have to do it like this. It could have been invisible, or an auto healing pack, or any number of things that didn't paint a target on the healer. But they did, and the game's probably better for it. Your least risky move of the day is to go look down in the comments. This channel's audience is actually pretty good with the comments, it's nice. Go down there and let's talk about weird healing systems. Games with no healing at all, auto healing, any kind of weird system you know about, shout it out down there. Healing can feel very basic, but there's no reason it can't be the most interesting part of your game. Healing happens in high-stakes situations, so you've got plenty of material for compelling gameplay. Add something unexpected into a healing system, and you might suddenly find yourself with your game's new centerpiece.